Joined by UFC heavyweight Austen Lane. Austin, how are you, man? Thanks for joining me.
Man, I'm casual right now, just finishing up a workout, man. So yeah, I appreciate you fitting me in, getting me in and everything. But I'm doing well. Yourself?
Doing great. Happy to have you. So you're fighting Jhonata Diniz, I believe I pronounced that correctly, on April 27th. Obviously this is we don't everybody knows you're the knockout guy. You're the guy you have 11 knockouts out of your 12 wins. But
Yeah.
how do you see this fight playing out? Give me your diagnosis of it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think the UFC thinks it's going to be a striking battle, and it very well could be. Obviously, when we talk about my opponent, a very accomplished kickboxer, has fought the who's who in the kickboxing world, and we've seen some kickboxers come over and had some success. But at the end of the day, I truly feel that kickboxing is different than MMA. I think he's a kickboxer, and I'm a fighter. So I'm going to take the fight wherever it needs to go, and I'll let you speculate whatever that means.
I love it. I love it. Well, I'll be tuned in. You got a prediction, or you don't do predictions?
No, I do predictions, man, and it's gonna be beautiful violence. That's what I always say.
Love
Like
it.
I mean, I don't want to call the round. You know what I'm saying? I don't visualize that, but I do visualize violence. I visualize blood, and that's all part of the sport, right? So there will be a lot of that.
I love that. I watched a couple of your fights leading up to this, and sorry, man, my dogs are whining because my wife just got home.
No,
Give me
you
one second.
no worries, man. You're fine.
All right. There you go. There you go. There you go. All right. Sorry.
You good?
Yeah. I watched a couple of your fights. Your fights are always exciting, and I was curious because I mentioned you have the 11 knockouts of your 12 wins, and we
Yeah,
just come off UFC 300. You guys are the event following UFC 300 where they got the $300,000 bonuses, and it was the big knockout for Max Holloway, obviously, but whenever there's an impressive finish, those fights are generally the ones that get the bonuses, right? So what do you
correct.
think the UFC should do? Because it has raised the question of should the UFC set the bar a little higher now? Maybe not 300 every time, but should they increase
Yeah.
those bonuses?
Man, I think if you increase those bonuses, I think more people are going to try to search for those bonuses. I mean, when you put $300,000 out there, I mean, I think Max Holloway knew what he was doing, right? I mean,
Right.
arguably it was already fight of the night already, but then to stand in the middle when you didn't have to and throw down, and now arguably have one of the best buzzer beaters in any sport of all time, I think that speaks volumes. So UFC 300, it delivered a lot of great fights in that card. I think it's a lot of it is because $300,000 is life changing money. So I mean, if you go up from maybe 50,000 to 75 to 100,000, is that a big difference? I truly believe so.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard I'm cool with Josh Emmett, and he was saying that he thinks that they should set the bar a little higher. And obviously, we've seen for special events like One Championship did it for their United States event. They upped it to 100,000, and UFC 300, obviously 300,000. So, yeah, do you think that fighters would there would be less timidity, is what I think you're saying, if there was more of a bonus?
Yeah, you know what? I mean, obviously, this is the fight game. It's a sport, but I also feel like it's like the entertainment business as well, right? I mean, it's not
Yeah.
professional wrestling, but there's still an entertainment aspect. So I would almost say, man, like, if you win, you post the clip on all the social media channels, and like whoever has the most interactions, the most follows, man, like that can determine how much bonus you get. I mean, I'm sure there's a way to take all those metrics and then turn that in to a paycheck, to turn that into a bonus, because that's what drives this sport right now. I mean,
Right.
obviously, yeah, watching it live is one thing, but how many highlights do you see on Instagram? How many highlights do you see on Twitter? So that also feeds the business. So if you can somehow like take those metrics of a knockout or a cool submission and then include that into the bonus, you might have something there. But that's beyond my pay grade, bro.
I love that idea, using the analytics
Yeah,
to drive your decision. I like that a lot.
yeah,
Um, Shifting gears a little bit, I saw a post on your Instagram. You were training with Sean Strickland a little bit. How
yeah,
was how
yeah.
how was that? What was that experience like for you?
It was fun, man, because you
Yeah,
know exactly what you're getting with Sean Strickland. He was in Jacksonville visiting a little bit. I came across him actually when we fought in Australia together, when he fought Izzy. And then I actually saw him again at UFC 297. I was cornering somebody when Strickland was that main event. So,
yeah.
yeah, so we had a little bit of a connection, but he comes to Florida. He didn't have any gear whatsoever. He just pulls up, says, "Can I get some gloves? Can I get some shin pads?" We had them, and we got three. We got a couple good days of just good sparring, and it was It was definitely an experience because like Sean only spars one way, and I appreciate that because he'll make you think real quick if you're gonna be a fighter or not. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So we threw down a little bit. It was fun. There's some shit talking, but I got nothing but love, man, for the way that he approaches his craft, for his style. Always coming forward, man. I gained some valuable experience, and like I said, anytime that I can throw down with somebody, and kind of turn it loose a little bit, it's a good time.
I love that. Yeah, his sparring is sort of legendary at this point. Just how he approaches training. How do you value it? How do you value training for, because he really puts an emphasis on sparring. That's really his thing. Whereas like
Yeah.
other guys, it's grappling. What's your favorite form of training? What's your least favorite form of training?
So it's wild because when I played football, I'm kind of programmed in terms of like working on different parts of your body and then incorporating that to an overall plan. And that was my style for a while. But the more that I've been in this game now, the more experience that I get, I'm a lot more ingrained in the sparring, the pad work, the drill work, things that are MMA specific,
Right.
right? And actually, it's crazy that I can compare it to this, but I once asked a pro NBA player, a former pro NBA player, I asked him what makes Jokic so great, right? Because you look at him, he's not an athlete.
Honey,
Oh,
can you shut
sorry.
my door, please? Sorry, thank you.
No, no, you get it. Yeah.
All right, I'm sorry, bro. Go ahead.
No,
Go
dude, you're fine,
ahead.
man.
Yeah,
No
yeah, all
worries,
right.
man. Life
Thanks.
happens, bro. You're
This is
fine, man.
it.
You're good.
This is the world we live in. Yeah.
No, without a doubt, man. You don't need to apologize for anything. But
Yeah.
so, I compare it to this. I once asked an NBA guy about Nikola, Jokic, the Joker from Denver, right?
Yeah.
MVP back to back, probably gonna win another one. And I asked him, like, you look at Jokic and he's not athletic, but like coming from a European system, how did he make it to where he's at and how is he an MVP? And what he said, like, kind of opened my eyes a little bit. It's like in the European style of basketball, like they don't necessarily believe in like weightlifting. They don't believe in like, drills. All they do is play basketball. They
Right.
scrimmage. They play that nonstop, and that's the European style. So then those guys come over here, and they're already polished, they're already experienced because all they do is play basketball. And that kind of reminds me of Sean a little bit, where all Sean does really is just spar, right? And he gets different looks, different styles. Now, in my opinion, you got to kind of taper that because you can't take too much damage, right? In my eyes, Sean will tell you differently, but in my eyes, you can't take a lot of damage. But you got to find ways around that, whether it's sparring lightly, whether it's once again hitting the mitts, hitting the bag. So there's ways around that. But I think the more MMA specific stuff that you can do, the better.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's actually kind of a debate that's being raised in baseball with all the pitching injuries going right now. Is
Yeah.
like what's the debate between like weight training versus plyometrics, like banded workouts and things like that, because it's just they can't seem to figure out why people are getting more injured now than ever before.
Yep.
So,
Well, and it's wild too because like you think, okay, so then do you go load management? But then it's like, well, if it's a Tommy John surgery used to be a death sentence, and now
right.
all of a sudden Tommy John surgery, year and some change, and you're maybe back throwing faster than you were before. So it's crazy in terms of baseball, in terms of technology, how far the surgery has advanced, but also how the the general managers of just like having that pitch count still, I think they kind of lean more on the side of let's get our innings in as opposed to let's take care of our player.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's a perfect way of putting it, to be honest. All right, let's shift gears. Oh, curious. I haven't asked a heavyweight about this. What were your thoughts on the? If you don't want to talk about it, totally fine. Your thoughts on Jon Jones having that issue with the drug tester showing up at his house? What did you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously reading about that is wild. Jon Jones is a guy that's no stranger to controversy or drama, it seems like. I mean, I'll be honest, man, because obviously I come from the world of professional sports, and a lot of it can be hearsay, a lot of it can be clickbait and articles. I'm gonna reserve my judgment until the final ruling comes out. But I did read that, and it was like, if it is true, which not saying it is, but if it is true, definitely disappointing.
Yeah, but does it raise a question about whether or not they should change the way that they do this testing, where you show up at somebody's house unannounced?
Well,
Is that
no,
something
I
that is
mean,
kind of outdated and antiquated at this point?
listen, I'm gonna be honest about that, Jesse. This is it's probably like 2 or 3 months ago. They showed up, and I think this would have been like USADA. It might have been like the last bit of USADA. I'm not sure. Whatever, whoever it was that showed up,
Right.
shows up. It's two people. It's 9:15 at night. and I got a son I got to put to bed. I got a son who has school in the morning. I'm trying to get like him settled down. And then I have these people here standing in my house waiting for a sample that I had no idea. I mean, and I understand like what makes it great is because it is random, so you don't have time to prepare and all that. But I
Right.
think there should be some time constraints at least, because I mean, we some people have jobs, some people have kids, some people got things to do, and to kind of show up unannounced at 9 something at night when I'm trying to wind down, my son's winding down. Like, yeah, I didn't really appreciate that.
Yeah. No, that makes perfect sense to me. Okay, let's have some more fun here. We're gonna end
Yeah.
here. Former NFL player, you know what it's like to go from playing the game to playing the fight game. You know what that
Yeah.
transition's like. What NFL player do you think would do well in MMA right now?
Oh, that's a good question. What NFL player would do good? I mean, dude, the guy's always around the sport. I feel like Max Crosby. I mean, Max Crosby's, I think, spars Sean Strickland a little bit. He's one of those guys from the Midwest. I got respect for them. That's where I'm from as well. So you got a little toughness to you. Yeah, go and give me Max Crosby.
I love that. Did you see what Chad Ochocinco said about Max Holloway? He said that he wants to spar Max Holloway.
Listen, Chad has some hands now. Like, don't get it
Yeah.
twisted. He's had some boxing matches and everything. But man, you talk about the best boxer right now in the UFC, and I get it. There's always a debate: professional boxers, professional MMA fighters. Dude, Max Holloway's got the resume. He just knocked out Justin Gaethje. Like, I get Chad Johnson trying to play the game and everything, man. But be careful what you wish for.
Love that. Hey, Austen, thank you so much for joining me, man. Austen Lane fighting Jhonata Diniz, April 27th, UFC Fight Night. Best of luck, man. Go get that W, all right?
Will do, man. Stay casual. We'll see you down the road, bro.